Off-road diesel just flipped higher than road diesel. Farmers are now paying more for their tractors than truckers pay at the pump, and that's never happened. It means the upstream cost is breaking 90 days before the grocery shelves feel it. Here's the full story and how you can prepare.
A subscriber left a comment on our last diesel video that nobody else has reported. He wrote that red diesel, the off-road tax-exempt diesel that farmers and construction operators use, just cost 40 cents more than road diesel at his local supplier in early May. That sounds like a small detail. It is not. Red diesel is supposed to be cheaper than road diesel every single day, by law, by tax architecture. There is a specific dollar amount of tax savings built into the price of off-road diesel because off-road diesel doesn't pay federal highway tax and doesn't pay state road tax. When WED flips above road, it means something is broken in a specific market that the general public doesn't watch, but commodity trading desks do. I want to walk you through exactly what this signal is, why it has only fired 3 times in the last 50 years, and what's actually happening right now to cause it to fire for a 4th time. By the end of this video, you'll know how to look up the same number that institutional analysts watch, for free in 5 minutes. And you'll know what each of the 6 American industries running on this exact same fuel are about to face as the spread keeps moving. Start with the architecture. Federal highway diesel tax is 24.4 cents per gallon. That's set by the Federal Highway Administration and collected by the IRS on Form 720. State road taxes add another 20 to 50 cents per gallon depending on the state. Total combined road tax burden, about 45 to 75 cents per gallon. Every road diesel pump in America has that tax baked into the displayed price. Red diesel is exempt from all of it. The fuel is marked with red dye for IRS enforcement under Section 67(1)(10). Penalty for using red diesel in a road vehicle, over $1,000 per offense. The dye exists because the federal government needs a way to distinguish taxed from untaxed diesel at a glance during inspection. Because of the tax exemption, the normal price relationship is straightforward. Off-road diesel should always trade somewhere between 45 and 75 cents below road diesel, every day, no exceptions. The spread is the tax savings. The spread is mechanical, until the spread inverts. When the off-road price climbs above the road price, the math the subscriber reported, the spread is no longer a tax savings discount. The spread is now a panic buying premium. The off-road buyer is paying not just the tax savings he gave up, but an additional premium on top of it, because the off-road supply chain is unable to meet demand at the normal price. This is the signal commodity trading desks watch. Most of the public has never heard of it. Now, the historical context. In the last 50 years, this exact inversion has fired 3 times. First, 1973, the OPEC oil embargo. The American distillate supply collapsed across both road and off-road channels, but the off-road distribution network was thinner. Fewer suppliers, longer truck routes to rural fueling points, smaller storage capacity. Fewer suppliers, longer truck routes to rural fueling points, smaller storage capacity. Rural off-road supply ran short first. For about 6 weeks during the winter of 73 into 74, red diesel briefly traded above road diesel in regions of the Midwest and Mountain West. Department of Energy archival data confirms it. What followed the spread inversion that winter, the worst single year of American agricultural cost inflation since the 1930s. Second, 2008. The financial crisis broke during peak construction season. American construction firms had pre-bought heavy equipment fuel contracts at high summer rates. The financial seizure froze the credit lines that smaller fuel distributors used to maintain off-road inventory. The off-road supply briefly priced above road diesel at regional terminals in the upper Midwest and Pacific Northwest for about 8 weeks. What followed? The largest contraction in American non-residential construction activity since the Great Depression. 3 million construction jobs gone over the next 2 years. Third, 2022, the Russia-Ukraine invasion. American distillate exports surged to Europe to replace lost Russian supply. The export pull-thinned domestic off-road inventory. In the rural Midwest at the start of fall harvest, red diesel briefly traded at parity with road diesel. Not above, but close enough to register as a signal at trading desks. What followed? The worst single-year agricultural cost shock since the 1970s and a 30% increase in food prices over the following 18 months. 3 prior inversions. Each one preceded a specific multi-quarter cost disruption to a specific industry. The 4th one is firing right now. The subscriber at his local supplier in early May is reporting the same anomaly that fired in 73, 8, and 22. He saw it at the bulk supplier level before the institutional data confirmed it nationally. That's how this signal usually works. Regional supply pressure shows up at the local supplier 2 to 4 weeks before the national pricing data registers it. The trading desks watch the regional spreads. The signal arrives at the trading desk first. Here's why the fourth inversion is happening now. 4 conditions are present simultaneously.
Hey, real quick, just to jump in, if you are like me and you want to buy a bunch of homes, not even maybe your next dream house or your first home, or you want to buy rentals, I'm going to put a link down below to a massive deal on 4 courses, real estate cycles course, how to deal with the real estate crash and the bear market and so much more. Take a look at it. One price. It's an insane deal. And now you have all the tools necessary to go forth and crush it. Let's get back to the video.
Condition 1, refinery distillate capacity offline. Phillips 66 closed its Los Angeles refinery in late 2025. 139,000 barrels per day of capacity gone. Valero's Benicia refinery has been idle through the first and second quarters of 2026. Combined, 288,000 barrels of California refining capacity offline. The off-road supply chain feels refinery cuts disproportionately because rural distribution runs on tighter margins than urban retail. Condition 2. 6 American industries running on off-road diesel are all at peak demand simultaneously. May into June is the most diesel-intensive stretch of the year for each one of them. Agriculture, planting season, fertilizer application, soil preparation. Construction, peak excavation, grading, and heavy equipment operation as summer building season opens. Marine commercial fishing. Pacific salmon and Atlantic cod fleets entering their summer operating window. Mining and quarrying, open pit operations running 24-hour shifts with diesel-powered haul trucks. Backup power generation. Data centers and hospitals running generators on red diesel as utility electricity prices spike under the same Hormuz crisis. Rail freight, locomotive engines running dyed distillate in certain configurations, peak shipping season ramping for summer goods. Condition 3, the Strait of Hormuz cascade. The same shipping route disrupting global oil supply is disrupting the petroleum products that get refined into off-road distillate downstream. The supply pressure that hit road diesel 3 months ago is now reaching the off-road channel. Condition 4, distribution bottleneck. The off-road retail network has roughly 1/5 the number of supply points as the road diesel network. When the same volume of demand pressure lands on a smaller distribution surface, the price moves harder and faster at the local supplier. All 4 conditions are present right now. Now the actionable part. The data is public, the signal is public, the institutional desks watch it. Retail almost never does. Here is exactly where to find it. First, the U.S. Energy Information Administration. IA.gov publishes a weekly on-highway diesel fuel price report every Monday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's the road diesel number. National average plus regional breakdowns plus state-by-state beta. Free. Public. Bookmark the page. Second, the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service. The AMS Illinois Production Cost Report publishes a bi-weekly farm diesel price. That's the off-road number. Compare the two on the same calendar week. Third, for construction, marine, and other off-road channels, the regional bulk supplier prices are usually published at the state agriculture department level or available through commercial data services like OPIS. The agricultural number is the cleanest public proxy because the USDA publishes it directly. The math here run is simple. Take the EIA road diesel number for the same week. Subtract the USDA AMS farm diesel number. If the result is negative, road diesel cheaper than farm diesel, the signal is firing. If the result is positive but less than 30 cents, the signal is firing weakly. If the result is 45 to 75 cents and positive, the spread is normal and the signal is quiet. This week, the spread is reported as inverted at multiple regional suppliers across the Midwest, Pacific Northwest, and parts of the Southeast. The institutional desks have already repriced commodity futures and freight contracts on the assumption that off-road diesel demand will not normalize before late summer at the earliest. Now, what you do with the signal if you're investing. The spread is a leading indicator that the institutional desks have already repriced. Retail hasn't. That window, between when the spread fires and when the broader equity and commodity markets catch up, is where the trade is. Construction. Watch the publicly traded home builders. Lennar, D.R. Horton, Polt Group, NVR, KB Home. Their cost guidance for the next 2 quarters does not yet reflect a sustained off-road diesel cost increase. Their margin guidance is going to compress before consensus models recognize it. The same applies to commercial construction names: Caterpillar, Vulcan Materials, Martin Marietta, Eagle Materials. Any operator whose cost structure depends on heavy equipment running on red diesel is exposed. Marine commercial fishing and shipping. The publicly investable angle is narrow. Most fishing fleets are private. But Tidewater, the offshore vessel operator, and Kirby Corporation, the inland marine transportation company, both run extensive diesel-powered fleets. Their next earnings cycle will show fuel cost pressure. Mining and quarrying. The major operators, Caterpillar again, Freeport-McMoRan, Newmont, Vulcan, and Martin Marietta, all run diesel-powered haul truck fleets at scale. Watch the operating cost commentary on the next quarterly call. Backup power generation. Data center operators, Equinix, Digital Realty, Iron Mountain on the storage side, all maintain massive diesel-powered backup generators. The hyperscalers, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, run the same. As utility prices spike under the same Hormuz crisis, generator runtime increases, and diesel consumption on backup power runs harder. Watch the data center rates and the cloud infrastructure spending guidance. Rail freight, Union Pacific, CSX, Norfolk Southern, Canadian National. Locomotive fuel is the largest single operating expense for every Class 1 railroad. Fuel cost increases get passed through to shippers via surcharges, but with a lag of 1 to 2 quarters. The lag is the trade. Short the railroads on the cost shock, or long the railroads if you think the surcharge pass-through will fully absorb it. The historical pattern says only about 70% of the cost shock passes through cleanly. Agriculture. Corteva, FMC, Mosaic, Nutrien, Archer Daniels Midland, Bunge, Tyson Foods, Pilgrim's Pride. The whole agricultural value chain from inputs to processing is exposed to either input cost increases or output volume declines or both. The agricultural commodities themselves, corn, soybean, wheat futures, are pricing the supply shock. The processors are pricing it differently. Now the broader market trades. Energy equities long, refiners specifically. Marathon Petroleum, Valero, Phillips 66, HF Sinclair, PBF Energy. Refining margins widen when distillate demand pressure persists and refinery capacity is offline. The shortage is a margin event for the operators left running. Inflation-protected equity sectors. When distillate inflation persists across 6 industries simultaneously, the broader consumer price index moves with a lag. Energy, materials, and consumer staples typically outperform in that environment. Defensive utilities with regulated cost pass-through benefit. Discretionary retail and durables get squeezed. Currency. The dollar typically strengthens during global supply shock periods because the dollar is the reserve currency for the very commodities in shortage. The euro and yen weaken against the dollar when distillate stress is concentrated in their import economies. The commodity export currencies, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, Norwegian krone, strengthen because the producer side benefits. Gold and silver. The traditional inflation hedge plays. Both are pricing the supply shock, but historically the metals lag the initial cost spike and then catch up over the following 6 to 12 months as the inflation prints in the CPI data. Bitcoin. The harder play. Bitcoin behaves as a risk asset on the way into a supply shock and as a hedge on the way out. The institutional positioning during prior shocks has been to reduce exposure during the initial volatility and add exposure as the demand destruction confirms. This is the layer of trades the institutional desks are already positioned in. Retail has not caught up. The window narrows every week. The spread is the signal that tells you to look at all of them. Not because any one of these is a guaranteed trade, but because the data window is open right now and closes once the equity earnings cycle prints and the commodity futures finish repricing. Bookmark EIA.gov for the road diesel number. Bookmark the USDA AMS Illinois Production Cost Report for the off-road number. Check both every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Subtract one from the other. If the spread is negative, every position I just walked through is in motion. The institutional desks moved first. Now to grab what they have. Economic Ninjas out.